Hello everybody and welcome to Green Star Trading with me, Tom. All views, opinions and ideas expressed in this video are my own and do not constitute financial or trading advice in any way. Right, for the next few minutes we're going to be doing an update on Bitcoin. It will probably take a bit longer than that, to be absolutely honest, as we've got quite a few things to reconsider since our recent triangle pattern here is broken down. But before we get into that, do you want to learn Elliott wave theory? Well, if so, consider joining the Green Star Trading Patreon at either Tier 2 or Tier 3. You will unlock this 11-part series, which is a comprehensive yet easy to follow video format, teaching you everything you need to know about Elliott wave theory. Well, maybe you want to learn how to chart the way I do as well. Well, I have a series called My Chart, which is an ongoing series which I'll be adding to every month over the coming months, which covers exactly how I set up my chart on TradingView, every tool I use, every drawing I use, every object, every indicator, the whole lot. And we'll show you how to set it up the way I set it up. You don't have to do it this way, of course, but if you're interested, there'll be a dedicated playlist to this too. And finally, maybe you just want to learn how to trade the way I do with my technical methodology, using what I call the standard trade setup. There's a playlist here for that too. We also cover things like trading psychology and risk management. If all of this sounds good to you, then you can unlock all of it by clicking on the link in the description box below, heading over to the Green Star Trading Patreon page and joining Tier 2 for £10 a month. By doing so, you will unlock all of the playlists I've just shown you, as well as a whole raft of other educational content. You'll also get access to the public Discord, where there is a myriad of channels covering multiple subjects, which can keep you engaged and in discussion with all the other members of our community, including myself. I also host weekly live streams which can go on for hours at a time, where I'm happy to take suggestions and cover anything anybody wants to look at, as long as they make the suggestion in advance. But if all of that isn't enough for you, then maybe join Tier 3, where you get every single benefit I've just listed, but you'll also get access to my monthly dividend calendar and stock rating system. Finally, if neither of these appeal to you and you just want to support the channel by donating £5 a month and appreciate the work I'm already doing on YouTube, you still bag yourself an exclusive video each week. Thanks for listening, guys. We look forward to having you on board. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, welcome back, guys. Right then, well, this is going to take as long as it's going to take today, and if I end up going off on one and waffling for a long time, you're just going to have to pull up with it. There's quite a few things to go over, and I want to try and be thorough, as this will likely be the last video you're going to get on YouTube for several weeks, as me and my partner are in hospital on Monday. She's scheduled to be induced, and we'll be having our second child delivered hopefully within the 24-48 hours after that, so another son or daughter. And obviously after that I'm taking 2 weeks off, because my duties as a father trump everything else. So this is just going to have to be on the back burner. If I find time to do something, I will prioritise my Patreons first, obviously, and post anything that I think is relevant on the Discord and on the Patreon. And hopefully not too long a time, 3 weeks or so, I should be back here on YouTube producing videos again. So, getting back to it, Bitcoin. We're going to go through all the various counts we've got. We're going to try and come up with a multitude of solutions for what's going on here, and how price could continue higher and how price could continue lower. One thing we know it is not the triangle we were expecting. That has now broken down, so we're going to start by changing that. Okay, so this is the double combination count. Okay, we're expecting this larger double zigzag to play out here. Now we can have this as a flat, right, into a zigzag. Now you can label this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. I prefer to look at this as a double zigzag, and therefore would expect another zigzag to come down lower if this is the case. So let's zoom in now and have a look at what's going on over here. So the way we were interpreting this was as a free wave move into an A, a free wave move into a B, a free wave move into a C, a 3-wave move into a D, a 3-wave move into an E, and then we were going to collapse. And we had this triangle. Now, we've since taken out the top of the C and the top of the A, so all of that, at least this interpretation of it, is wrong as a triangle. So we're going to delete that, delete that, delete that, delete this, and we're just going to get rid of all of this triangular labelling. I'm going to leave this ABC in place for the moment, because this could still be an X wave. Okay, so that's as far as we can get with this count at the moment without going into further detail. Right, so let's just remind ourselves of the overall idea. One corrective structure connected to another corrective structure via this zag here, and all of that's still possible. So breaking that triangle does not necessarily mean moon. Okay, it could just be a 3-wave move before coming down lower again. Okay, now how we interpret it is going to how we interpret the count of this section is going to determine how we interpret the count of this section. Okay, because if we put 5 waves in here with that dodgy impulse that I've never liked the look of, right, then we have the ability to put 5 waves in here and go A, B, C, right, and that opens up the possibility of the large triangle, but it also opens up the possibility of it still being an X wave before coming lower. Right, very little to discern the two. There are things we will look to measure, but now let's just look at the possibility of this being free. Okay, so if this is free and this is free, well, how do we make sense of this section here? So I think that's the next thing we should work on to give ourselves a possibility for this still being an X wave. Okay, with a 3-wave count. We have a bullish count which we can use to invalidate the idea of it being 3 waves in a zigzag, because it will continue to go higher and faster and more violently, and that will mean it was 1, 2, 1, 2, so on and so forth. So I think that's the count we'll use to express a more bullish point of view. I think the corrective counts have to be divided as either 5, 3, 5 zigzag or something else. So that's what we're going to look into now. Okay, let's come down to the 4 hour. Now I know I haven't looked at any indicators yet. We'll do all that later, moving averages, indicators, geometry. Once we've got some counts in place, we can come back and see how they fit our broader understanding of what's going on. So let's just stick with this A, B, C idea here for the moment. So the first thing we want to look at is the overall retracement. Okay. Now we get a 90% retracement. Okay, so there are several ways we can now look at this. We can look at this whole structure as a 3, 3, and then we'd have to force, and I think we would have to force 5 waves in here, and this whole thing would be a flat and a running flat at that point. 3 waves into something. Now I'm not particularly keen on that idea, because this doesn't subdivide cleanly as 5, it looks like a zigzag. Okay, and it doesn't go higher. So if this was, A, B, C, I'd expect the C to go beyond the A most of the time, right? Because we didn't come back in an expansive B. So if we'd gone A, expansive B, expansive C, short C for a running flat, or C go with the B not expansive for a regular flat. Instead we end up with a lower high and a higher low, so it doesn't feel like a single flat pattern. So in that regard, we're probably better off labeling this as a W, 3 waves, rather than as an A. Okay, so we're just going to work our way through this now. We're going to put our X over here and our Y over here, and this goes into a larger WXY. So now we need to try and make sense of this. Okay, and it's a bit messy. A bit is an understatement. Now, let's just come back out to the daytime frame for a minute, because I want to share something with you. Now bring up my indicators, and here on the day time frame we get RSI supporting a triangle. Okay. Depending on where you complete it. If you drag it down through these highs, alright, or through here, that's fine. We do have this higher high here, so that's arguably the start of something else, right? Maybe that could be a 1 and a 2. So maybe if we just take these highs, we've got 3 lower highs, 3 higher lows. So we've got some support for a triangle. So instead of our triangle being the longer winded, more normal looking kind of triangle we were expecting, okay, when we were including this as the A, B, C, D, E, that didn't occur. So let's reconsider the possibility of this here being a triangle. Excuse me. Right, now we can draw it multiple ways. Let's come down to the 4 hour, give ourselves a bit more room, and count this as a joining triangle. Okay, so let's just see if this makes sense. So we'd have to go A, B, C, D, E. Okay, now that works as a connecting triangle for an X wave here. So 5 to here, flat to here, 5 to here for C. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or are we saying, let me just put the labelling on it just to see how that makes sense of it. A, B, C. So 1, 2, 3, short C to here. That's not particularly pretty. That could be a diagonal of some sort. Maybe we can extend it out further. D, E. Going from dominant pivot to dominant pivot though. Right. So we get the A comes to here, the B stays within the A, so it's not a running triangle, it's a contracting triangle. The C stays within the A, the D stays within the B, the E stays within the C, and each termination is the lowest or highest point. Right. So that's clean looking. It's not pretty overall in the structure, but it's relatively clean looking. Okay, so we can go with that, and at first glance that helps make sense of this connecting segment. Free wave here, a free wave, I know it's 5 being a triangle, but we could refer to the WXY as 3, 3, 3, and the triangle counts in that sense. So this would now be a 3 as well. Now, how we interpret this, it's a mess. There's a lot of overlapping structure. Right? I could probably dig out a diagonal better than I could dig out any other pattern, because we've got this ridiculous wick here. I can't really do much about that as it appears on pretty much every chart I look at. So what I can do is essentially suggest maybe a diagonal to this point where we've gone A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A looks, maybe A's here, and this is the zigzag here. It's dodgy as hell. Right, the whole thing's just not pretty. Right. Trying to get 5, 3, 5 in a single move, there's just too much overlapping price action. It doesn't work. Okay. We'd have to ignore both of these wicks completely to try and get an impulse into here. Okay, if we were trying to create a zigzag, so we could go A, B, C, 1, 2, and then we don't have a diagonal that works anymore. So the whole thing's a little bit of a mess, but it's just, it is what it is. So maybe we can work with something like that. Oh, excuse me. And like, we'll try and clear this up as we go, but I'm just brainstorming for the moment, so don't expect it to be pretty. Can we get 3, 4 here, 5 into there perhaps? Honestly, don't know. I think that's a That is a higher high, so perhaps you could do something like 1, 2. See, that wick's throwing me off. I'd want to do that. 3, 4, 5. But we've got this wick here and this wick here. Now that could be 5 waves and a leading diagonal and a 3. There's no overlap in the 4, but we seem to only have 3 waves in the 1. So if we get a zigzag in the 1, right, we wouldn't expect to see 3, 5. Right, it'd either be 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, leading diagonal comprised of zigzags, or it's 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, leading diagonal comprised of motive elements as well as corrective elements. You know, so it's not nice either way. Right. So is there a way we can push this triangle out further to try and make it a little cleaner? Yeah. We get a back test. If we take in these 2 highs here and this low here, we have to ignore this, but we get some kind of back test of support here. So let's just see if we can push this out further. So we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Can we force an E into here, the D into here? I think that's dodgy as hell, isn't it? The C into here. So can we go A, B, C? C could be a complex wave. That would have to somehow divide as a zigzag, and it doesn't want to divide as a zigzag. So I can't see how I can extend that triangle out any further and make it complete. It just doesn't want to complete there. It wants to complete here, if we're going to use a triangle at all. So I think what we're going to have to do is start building up some separate ideas here. Okay, that's going to be sub-menu inside the minuet. And package these separately. And like I said, this is just going to take as long as it's going to take. Alright, like I said, you won't have the luxury of me being around for the next few weeks, so I'm not here on YouTube at least. So now I think what would be better off is if we, where does this belong to? That belongs to that combo and primary bearish, so we'll delete that so we can have it all as a separate count, and we can say A, B, C and minuet degree. So this will all go into its own folder now. And then this is some kind of connective X wave, and it will complete in a Y. Interpreting this is problematic at the moment. It just is what it is. So let's just take a basic one-to-one target. We're not dealing with a zigzag ABC, so we can't expect it to come to 100%. You know, as the most likely outcome. But we should still mark it as such. Right, because we're not sure what we're looking at. So 1-to-1 here. Now we know we can't have a 2 for a triangle for a 2. So going 1, 2 in the same way, that's not on the cards. We can't do that. We'd have to find an alternate way of doing it. So just for the moment, we can always come back and fiddle with it later. 50471 spot 27. 50471 spot 27. Did I do that right? I said 3. There we go. I'll lock that in place. So this represents 1-to-1. Y equals W. That is not a I don't want to suggest that that's a thing in the same way as C equals A in a zigzag. It's not, but it's just parity between one move, a connecting move, and a subsequent move. You know, that's still a perfectly normal target to look for, regardless of the corrective structure we're observing. So if it had been a pure zigzag, then it would have been have a stronger relationship. So I'll just say Y equals W here. So we've got something to work with now for a free wave pattern. So this fits in, or plugs in, to the corrective count. So this bearish combination that we had as our primary with a triangle joining for the X wave, we can still get a WXY within the X. Okay, free wave, triangle, this will be free waves. Maybe up to the 1-to-1. We can look at previous support and resistance and do all that later as well. And then down in the final zigzag. Right, so we've got something to work with at the moment. So now let's move on and consider the larger triangle, because we need to correct this as well. So let's just zoom out, alter the chart, come in and have a look. So A, B, C, this is going to be D, and then E, and then higher. So once again we need to come in to this section and sort a few things out. So we're going to delete the A, B, C, D, E, same problem. This time we're keeping a 5 wave count in here for the A. Now I think this might be a little easier. It's no guarantees of getting out of here impulsively, although it's still tricky. We can get rid of this level because that's no longer relevant. We've broken the top of the A. Don't need this trend line or this trend line anymore. We don't need this ABC or this ABC anymore. We'll keep this one. Sorry, I deleted one there. I shouldn't have deleted. A, we can still use that triangle, or we can use something else. It really isn't going to matter because I think we're going to end up in the same place. Right, so we want an A, B, C, not a 1, 2, 3. A, B, C, probably with more sideways move to come before heading back up to the highs here. Minor degree. So if this is 5, this is a B wave triangle, we can use the same idea. I think for the meantime, for the sake of keeping things simple, or simpler, we still have that daytime support for a triangle. We can still use this as a B wave. Like that. I haven't got a foggy as to how to get through this initial move. We'll see if we can pick something out, but I wouldn't hold your breath. Okay, so let's throw that into A, B, C, D, and E. This comes down to minuet. I think it'd even have to be that. This being a super fast short C to get a free wave move in there. That subdivides okay as a free wave move. Well, as far as I can see. I wouldn't know how else to look at it other than 3. I can't look at it as 5. Okay. It's often how I just look at things. You know, if that looks like 3 more than it looks like 5, then that's what I'm going to label it as. I'm going to label it as 3. Right, so if we've got 5 here, I need to move that 1 across the 9, it's in the wrong place. It shouldn't be on there, it should be on there. Because that's the previous, that's part below, going down to below. And I think it was actually there, and I went for ABC flat, zigzag 5, flat and an A, zigzag and a B, 5 and a C for a running flat. That's my preferred way of interpreting that. I haven't labelled it because once again there's just no benefit to doing so. I'll pop, because that looks like 5, always has done to me. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the 3, we can live with that. 4 I think was over here, to be honest. Did that weird WXY. I have got more detailed counts for the bullish count of how to get up here, so we can observe that when we look at that count. A, B's done, Now we're coming up in a C to find the top of the larger triangle. Okay, so how do we get out of here? With great difficulty. Let's just come down here and see what we can make of this. Let's just try and pick out some of the structures going on here. That looks like 3, and that looks like 3. Okay, so that could easily be 1, 2, right, of a diagonal made up of 3 waves rather than 5. We get is some kind of zigzag to here with an immediate rejection to here, followed by another zigzag to here. You see how messy this is? There's no way we can claim that to be 5. There's no way we can get a triangle to fit in there. Yeah, because we'd have to have an impulse here. Maybe we can squeeze an impulse into there. Like I said, I'm just thinking aloud, guys, so you're just going to have to bear with me for the moment. Can I get a triangle into here and then get an impulse out of here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, A, B, 5 waves in a C. Fucking expanding flat. Significantly big B wave. So completely disproportionate 4th wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Right. That is, if we're going to get an impulse, about as best as I can possibly get out of this mess. We'll have a look at trying to make a diagonal, but I think that's going to prove to be equally problematic. Right, it's just a headache. So 1, A, B, C. 2. So at least now we're picking out something that could apply to 2 counts. It could apply to a corrective count in a larger triangle, or it could apply to a bullish count off of the low, right? Because it's impulsive, and that's 5-ish. Subminute into 1. Expanding flat into 2. No idea how to get up here. I think we'd have to, it's just a rip in a 5. It's just an absolute rip. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. It looks totally tarded, but whatever. It's an impulse and it's not the shortest. It's longer than the 1. We then go off to Funky Town with an A, B, I think I'm talking bullshit, C, complex C, and then this is D and E. Does that look right? Looks like a load of bollocks, that does, doesn't it? But that's the best I can do there. Because I can't, with this pivot here, with this, whoops, with this high and then a lower high here, I can't get a completed move up to here. Right, I can up to here, right, because these highs are roughly equal. But I want that to be the 1 and the 2 of the 3 and the 4 and the 5 to get into the 5th here, and I can't get it. Right, I'd have to ignore wicks in order to get the E to complete. So, will something else take its place that isn't a triangle? Because I don't think that's going to fly. What does this retrace? We come back to 90. That feels absolutely grotesque as a flat. But a drowning man will clutch at straws. A, B, diagonal, C. Now one of the problems with Elliott Wave is the more familiar you get with it, the more clutch you can make things. Because you can see things which you know don't necessarily look right, but if there's nothing else there, what are you supposed to do? That's the problem. This would be micro. I don't think I even have it. Yes, I do. Because that looks like 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. In here there's 5 somehow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diagonal. This whole thing's A, B, C for an incredibly bullish running flat that looks like it stops before the 61A, which is like just stupendously bullish. Yeah, look, here's the 61A, so we don't even make it to that. That just feels absolutely wrong. That does. And I can't really do any better than that at the moment, to be honest. So I'm just gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think we have to consider some kind of diagonal through this if we're going to avoid this mess. Right, now can we get any sense of it from here? Is the next question. 1, 2, shallow 2, 3, 4, 5. That's some of the most creative and subsequently vile application of Elliott Wave. But I'm just, got to think things out as I go here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is that another subwave? Give it the benefit of the doubt of being another subwave. So how do I want to count it? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 truncation here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then no correction at a smaller degree. Seems a bit dodgy. 1. Sorry, got the wrong thing here. 1, 2. Could get an impulse in here. 3, 4, 5. Into 3, 4 to come, 5 to come. Have we got enough room? Well, 1 to 1. We know where that is. Right, so we could get a much steeper, or I say sort of shortened. Put that back in the right place. So D could be all the way just to here, right? And it could be a much more severe, or a significantly smaller D wave than expected. It looks out of proportion to me though. That does. But that's about the best I can do if I want that to be impulsive, which does not bode well for a corrective, for a bullish count, does it? That seems a bit off. D feels like it should be higher up. So the subwave count could be wrong, but for the moment, I think I'm going to have to put that into the triangular count and say that's the best I've got so far. Like that. Save. So now let's try and dig through this again for an alternate idea and see if we can just get a diagonal somehow in here. Because it doesn't matter where you start it, even if you start it here and force a 5 into here and this is a 2. You've still got this to deal with. So we know that we can get 5, 3, 5. So can we get 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 3. No, that's the lower. Oh, hang on. What about 3, 4, 5, and the diagonals here? Will that work? Like this. Let's just check the measurement. I'm not saying that I can get the subdivision cleanly, but can we at least get the measurements? That's a large zigzag, we can go with that. So that makes this peak significantly smaller. It should do, because that looks pretty big. Yes, it is. It's smaller. Can we get it? And therefore, if that's 3, 4, and that's a little 5, then that's definitely smaller. So I can get a diagonal in here. So maybe the diagonal is a better way of getting the leading 1 than that impulse we just created, that hellish thing here. So now we can just say 1, 2 has to be down here. Right. This somehow, fuck knows how, has to get into a 3. Up there, this becomes a 4. No, that's wrong. Wait a second, can we push it out of there? Let's stick with our initial assumption that we've got something like this going on. How weird does that look? Doesn't look, but it doesn't look right at all, does it? Can't have this as the 2. I can't have this as the 2. Not unless it's a truncated C in a zigzag, but it looks like it's got 5 in it. That's got to be the secondary part of the zigzag, I would have thought. So hang on, can we extend this out and still have it looking like a diagonal? Barely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we get a teeny tiny 1, 2. That's very peculiar. After a leading diagonal. After a diagonal, what we call a rising wedge, we expect the more. It would be normal to have a more aggressive sell-off. That could be an impulse into a 1. Okay, let's just check this now. So 1 to 3 is shorter, that's fine. And 3 to 5 is definitely shorter. Yeah, that's fine. That's probably better. Although how we explain this section, I think you'd have to do this and then all of that's a B somehow. W, X, Y for a B. And then a zigzag in the C. Yeah, because there's no way it's here, because otherwise that's 3 waves. And we want the whole structure to be 3 waves in a diagonal. So I'd have to just say the reason there's 5 waves here is because that's A. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A. Then it's gone A or W, X, Y, something like that. B, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C for a 3-wave structure. Looks like dog shit, but slightly less dog shit than the previous pile of dog shit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I honestly feel that although we're doing this, we're probably going to get more out of the basic analysis later than we will out of all of this for the moment, because I think there are some strong signs of all of this having been the low. I'm having a hard time expressing it And that's the problem. You know, I'm not going to call it because I don't have a clear way of expressing it. Very short and peculiar too, but I don't know how else to look at it. Right, so we've got a diagonal here now that we can plug in to the triangle. So I'll tell you what I should do. I should gather this together first. Okay, I know this isn't the usual bouncy kind of, you know, energetic YouTube Bitcoin video, but it's, you know, I think my mood is reflecting the price, or reflecting the price behavior at the moment, so it is what it is. That's hideous. I should really pick out everything here and stick it into a different folder. Right, because we've now got excuse me, we've now got an alternative way out off of the low. Right, so I think it's all this lot. Impulse in C of triangle. Okay, so now when we bring up the triangle count, we get to here, and then we can tag on diagonal, which gives us potentially a lot further to go in the D, because we've only got a 1 and a 2. Now we're coming up in a 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's not placed. Okay, so I'm not guessing at that. We'll know when we know. And then we've got an alternate idea of this ridiculous impulse that I've tried to make happen, which I just don't like the look of at all. So at least now that covers the possibility. Okay, we've got two ideas now in place. We've got the, I don't want that, we want this and this. No, we don't, excuse me. So now we can get, how we get three waves in here, I haven't got the foggiest. Right. But if we know we can get 5, then we can get an A. And if we can get an A, we can get a B and a C into an X. Right. So who knows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into an A. So let's just say A-ish here, B, C. And that's about all you're going to get there. Because you're not going to know what it is until you see it. Why is that deleted? Okay, I've just got to switch the fans back on my computer for a minute, because I'm getting some graphical glitches in. I think we're getting a little warm, so you're going to have to just put up with a bit of fan noise in the background now. Excuse me. Okay, so maybe some of this will start to make sense when we look at more basic support and resistance and see what kind of fits. You could count this as a WXY, but it's not going to help. So you say WXY. Well, that's another. That's three waves. If you're gonna force this weird combination going on, what are you calling this Y wave? Is this a zigzag? And this is zigzag. Then if it's a zigzag, it's truncated. How do you deal with this? Well, you're going to go 1 and 2, or A and B. How do you get through this? Same problem. So for me, it feels better as a triangle structure, an adjoining triangle structure, A, B, C, D, E. Then this is coming out in either 3, which is yet to occur, and this will be 5 somehow into an A. Or we're coming out in that larger triangle pattern. Okay, and it's most likely this diag. Less likely this impulse. So that covers the corrective ones. excuse me, I'm going to have a hard time choosing a primary. I think because my long-term preference is that for a 3 rather than a 5. And I think if that's the case, then again I can't pick anything out here, so I honestly haven't got a clue at the moment. It makes more sense that as a 5, even though it looks hideous. So at least that gives me a zigzag, right, into an X, or a zigzag into the D of a larger triangle. So it's just a problem at the moment. We'll know when we know. If this thing comes absolutely ripping out of here, moons out of here, then it's likely it's bullish. We bottomed back here. So let's look at the bullish alternate then. So what have I got here? Well, we now know that we can't have a triangle in this bit here, right? Because we can't have a wave 2 as a triangle. So that's a big no-no. So we're forced to either use a funky WXY. So what I mean is, forget the 2's here for the moment. We would move the minor 2 over to here. And then we'd go funky WXY. Funky WXY that obviously wants to be a triangle. That's my problem with counting it as a WXY. It just doesn't want to be one. It wants to be a triangle. I'm not saying it can't be, but it's just weird. Because you've got... This zigzag's okay, right? But this second zigzag, bullshit. Now you could take the zigzag I've got here, which I think is almost as much bullshit. So it's... take your pick. Or you can interpret it like this. 1, zigzag into a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, somehow into a 1, shitty zigzag into a 2 with a truncated C. Right. Into a 2, from that point, we're impulsing out of here in this satanic impulse, or we are diagging out of here. Okay? Both call for higher price action. Both call for corrective move, higher, corrective move, higher. And the trend that we're in now will continue higher, right? And that is the only way I can see a bullish count off of the low. And it looks like excrement. But it's just what it is at the moment. And none of them look pretty. Right. So when something, my instinct tends to suggest to me that when something doesn't look pretty, it's likely a larger corrective structure playing out. Corrective structures are complicated and ugly. And this whole thing feels like an ugly corrective structure. So, and that conflicts with how I feel about the longer term picture regarding basic analysis, classical analysis, and the geometry we've been observing. So just in a bit of a pickle. Was very much hoping we were going to get that triangle to keep things clearer. Okay, but because we didn't get it, we're forced to either force a smaller triangle, which still gives us this garbage move, but we've done our best with that. So there's no point coming back at me and suggesting that this is A, B, C, D, E, because it never went lower, did it? So it wasn't connecting a bearish move. This has to be 3, 3, 3, or this has to be 5, 3, 5, and the best connecting idea we've got is a triangle in between both of them. That's how I see it. You could go for WXY, but I just think it doesn't want to look like a double zigzag. It wants to look and feel like a triangle. Right? So 3 waves overall going higher. That's the counter trend move here. Continuation of the bearish move lower. Next option, we bottomed back here, and it's a funky 1-2, 1-2. Right. In which case, it's an extension, and it's going to accelerate higher. So there you go. That's the best I can give you at the moment. Now, at the end of the video, I'll come in and we'll have another look, and I'll try and pick out what I prefer, but no promises, because I'm still thinking it through at the moment. Okay. I mean, look, even this structure here wanted the whole thing here kind of wants to look like a diagonal. Right, not where I've drawn it, but this structure here kind of wants to look like a diag. But the issue is there was no wave 2. Yeah, so even if you'd gone from here, 1, 2, 7, 5, that's 1, 2, is it? That doesn't look right. So there you go. Right, let's come out now to the daytime frame. Stop bitching and moaning, if I can restrain myself, and we'll come and have a look at some basic technical analysis. So we'll see if we've got signs here. So we've already mentioned the triangle. We don't need to mention that again. We've got a triangular support on the RSI, which kind of helps this being a corrective, conjoining, connecting triangle of some sort in a larger free wave move higher before coming back either lower and then going higher again in a larger triangle, or this being an X wave and going lower. So we went from overbought to oversold, and we've had this rising higher lows, like bullish underlying momentum. We've broken out into overbought again. We could press higher, but this is the first time we've been here since October 21. So this could have been the low, and this could be the first move out of here. Momentum's back above the zero bound, with the average accelerating away from the signal, with growing green bars on the histogram, but not the strongest we've seen in the last few weeks. Okay. So we've had previous but eruptions of momentum here in the MACD, which are more impressive than what we've got thus far, which is here. The average is pushing higher above the zero bound, but at the same time it's not looking very strong. Now if this starts to really grow and take all of this out, we can start to be a bit more bullish and start to assume that there is a bid here. There's an underlying bid that's starting to push the price higher, but at the moment it's not particularly convincing. Let's have a look at some of the support and the ideas we've got here. So bring up our volume profile, bring up our moving averages. So a move back above the 250. Let's bring on the 10 and the 20. Price is back above the 250, which has operated as resistance twice before, has operated as support before. Support here and resistance here. Going back above this level often results in a retest of it. So go above the 250, come back to find support. Away from the 250, come back to find support. Just as often coming back up to it to get resistance. So now that we've come through it, some kind of move back would make sense. But the fact that we're back above it is overall positive. Right? 10, 20, 60 are now all starting to trend up. Looking to cross over the 250 here, like we had back here. We then rolled over, found support and went higher. Back here, I remember seeing this as a move, seeing this as a move, and then expecting 5 waves down. Right, this is 1, 2, and it never came. We just went higher. And then from that point, it was roughly after this move here, back in August, September, we rolled into that the whole idea of this being a flat starting to come about, or a triangle. And so you can go back on the YouTube channel and look back to September last year, August, September last year, and you can see those ideas start to form and solidify once this low was in. That high was taken out. So let's have a look at base support resistance here. So we can see resistance, resistance, becoming support, becoming support. Okay. We can see previous resistance here and resistance here becoming support. Okay. Previous support becoming resistance. We're above all of it now. Right, we're back above all of it. So if we're going to find some kind of resistance up here, we're going to likely come back and test this moving average, some kind of supportive horizontal structure to try and get something to bound out of. Okay, so back above these support and resistance levels, and these are the major ones that I can see. Okay, so let's put the indicators away now we've spoken about those. Right, so let's remind ourselves again of the confluence that we have around this level. Okay, just turn that off. So this goes back quite a long time now, when I first had the feeling that this was the low. And when I was, making overtures to the idea that it was likely the low. Then we failed to get a clear impulse. Then we got what appears to be a triangle, so unlikely to be a 2. Right. I still feel that this confluent support supports the idea of a larger running triangle. It's just what my gut wants to believe. I don't know if that's because I just want it or whether I'm just convinced by it more, but it's just what it feels like. And so we've had that death cross. Right? As I always point out, it signifies a low. It doesn't necessarily mean a bottom, but 90% of the time it signifies a low, at least for temporary time period. Right? Here's the death cross. Death cross, edge of his regression channel. We get. Let's turn some of these off so we can see. We get a 1-to-1. This length equaling this length. Okay. And we get a perfect parallel channel. Pivot to pivot to pivot to pivot. All of that still has held ever since making that low on the 24th of January. We've got the 61.8 level, which is seen has been previous support and previous resistance, going all the way back through here. We're now poking our nose above it. So we could be finding resistance here, back at the 61.8. So where are we in terms of retracement? Right, so maybe we should look at that and add that into the confluence folder and see if there's anything here which is likely to stop us in our tracks. Here's 50 with prior resistance. So maybe we should be looking at some prior resistance as well. So we're going to mark that. And then you've got the 61.8 up here as well. I mean, look at this point of control as well. Visual point of control. It's in a different place depending on how much price action you're taking. But if you look at the lows, right, perfect test here before leapfrogging out of here. So for all this visual range that we can see, this is our point of control down here, and that has operated as support. So let's just lock these in place, because that's the 50. I know that because it's blue, and I know that because it's yellow, but that's the 61.8. Okay, that's 5874 spot 84. Wait a second. Sorry, I was marking the wrong place. 15956. Excuse me. Okay, and this one is 55237. Okay, so we've got two levels here, 50, 61.8 from this swing here. Right. Now let's have a look at how that appears. I'm going to put these in the larger triangle folder because I think that's the best fit for them. Like that. 61.8 seems like a good position to put the D. Okay. I also think that fit quite nicely, if I remember, with the idea of this being a pitchfork. Got it somewhere in between the two. The 50 and the 61.8. Okay, now the next thing I want to look at is this long-term pitchfork that we've been using this whole time. Okay. So I've spoken about this multiple times of our 1-2 pivot back here, how we played between so many channels and so many levels. For the 223.6 levels here in a parallel channel, testing the 61.8 here, 23.6, 78.6, 61.8, 78.6, 61.8, 78.6, backtest 61.8, so on and so forth. Median line 23.6s together, 38.2 snagging and breaking, 61.8, 38.2, 61.8, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, 61.8, 61.8. We do not want to break that golden ratio in this pitchfork. Just do not want to break it. Okay. So the next logical place, let's just have a look at where that support and resistance was. Right, higher up, we've got the 38.2 here. Spot line there. That's around the 50. Now it depends how long it takes to get here, right? You could go higher. Something like that. So I would expect to see resistance to that 38.2. Support, resistance, resistance again. Now I can't give you an exact price because I don't know when it's going to touch it. I don't know when it's going to touch. Okay, you could do something like this and then come up here. But I expect it to operate as resistance because it's done so before. Just as the 61.8 is operated as support. I find the relationship of this pitchfork so strong, but if we are coming up, right, so if this is a move and we are coming up correctively, a move back to the golden zone would not take us to new lows, would it? So I think we'd have to push for that edge of the pitchfork still to get through these lows. And even then, are we going to make lower lows than we did back in the summer? And this just has me feeling like this was the low. But I just can't prove it, you know. Alright then, so that's how things are looking from a basic technical analysis point of view at the moment. So, have we got other counts? Yes, we have. We've spoken about the bullish low, but that's part of this idea, right? 1 2 1 2, and then this is part of 3 4 1 2 1 2 1 2, going up in a fifth wave. Then we have my old, let's have a look, bullish count, which is the idea that we've just completed a wave 4 in a combination to here. And now this is 1 2 1 2. So all the bullish counts are the same. It's just how bullish do you want to be. Right, there's another count which I've spoken about with the my patrons, we call it the New Zealand special. And it's this uber bullish count of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, moon. Okay. Now for as long as this low holds, all of those bullish counts are viable. And for as long as that low holds, the triangle is viable. So this multiple invalidation level, which I've spoken about before, 32. Let's get this absolutely precise. 32,950 spot 72. spot 72. This low here, for as long as it holds, 1212 ABC WXY ABCD, all viable. This breaks, all of those counts die. All of them. So that's gone. That would be gone. That would be gone. You know, and the New Zealand special and this bullish count, all of those die if that level breaks. All of those little counts die if that level breaks. In the meantime, having thought about it now, there's one other thing, which is this bearish count. Everything, this count and the combo primary bearish count. So W, X, Y into a 4, right? Or topping here, right? They both depend on this being a corrective X wave. But this is a triangle B, C, or it's a W triangle X, Y. Right. And these two counts will break that multi-invalidation level at 32,950 spot 72. So now, having said all of that, let's try and organise these. I'm going to adopt the triangle count, the large triangle, as my primary. And I'm just going to call it that from now on. Now, I can't give you any other reasons than having taken everything into account, the confluence at these lows to support the shift into positive momentum, moving averages turning positive, price heading higher, and all the various ways we can count this pile of shit here. This is my preference. Whether that means I'm right, who knows? But it's my preference. I prefer it over the pie in the sky bullish interpretation, because getting an impulse out of here, which is what I would want in the beginning of a free, is hard to do. Diagonal isn't much prettier, right? But it's still possible. If we rocket out of here, I will shift my primary count into a bullish interpretation of 1212 out of here. But for the meantime, I think I'm just going to stick, I'm going to call it primary count brackets triangle. And it's going to go to the top of the list. All that's taken care of. So my next one, my alternate, we got that way of getting up in it, and we got that way of getting up in it. So my alternate is going to be the combo lower. I can move the Y up a little bit, I think, because I don't know how high that X is going to go. Who knows, right? It could come all the way up here, it could be done. Difficult to count. Alternate, and this is bearish. Okay, and I'm just going to go with that. It's one or the other. Now it could be the bullish counts. I'm not. You got to be clear here. I'm not weighting these in any significant way. I'm just picking one as a primary and one as an alternate, and the margin for how much I prefer them is tiny, and it just is at the moment. So I'm not saying it's this or that. If I'm going to give you any kind of opinion, that's my preference at the moment. That is a relatively close, very close alternate. The only reason it's not my primary is because of how much support there was at this low, how strong this channeling effect seems to be, and how momentum has shifted positive since. But those things only just push that into the primary, so it's close. Okay, everything else, they're all just niddly piggly ways of getting that Y or that C to complete. Okay, how that's going to unfold, I haven't a clue. We'll just have to wait and see. After that, there's the bullish counts, which I would weight equally at the moment because it could be any one of them. My long-term preference has been for 3 into 4, right? Which is, bear with me, 3 into 4 double combination, now starting a 5th. That's for the longest time has been my preference for the bullish interpretation. So we'll stick that underneath there. Then we'll take that bullish count, put that there. I will relabel these in the meantime. And then we'll take the New Zealand special and put that underneath that lot. Okay, and I still dislike the cycle top, but we'll put that at the bottom. And we're going to leave it there, guys. It has been a long video, I know, and you've probably gotten absolutely fed up with me, especially with the amount of moaning, whining and bitching that's been going on. And I don't blame you if you are fed up with me, because I really have been a bit of a bitch today about it. And we will see how things develop from here. So I'll leave you now, and I will wish you all the best for the next few weeks. I'm still going to have more videos coming out this week, so don't panic. We've got the stock market video coming out, gold and silver will be out as well, but I'm saying that this, as Bitcoin goes, will likely be the last video on YouTube from my channel for a few weeks, because fatherly responsibilities come first, and prioritising looking after baby. So that will be from next Monday onwards. I'm probably going to be off the radar for a while. Alright then, guys, I will see you shortly with a stock market update, hopefully tomorrow, maybe the day after, and take care of yourselves till then. If you're new to the channel and you've liked what you've seen, please subscribe, smash the like, hit the little bell notification icon to remain informed of future video releases. Feel free to leave us a comment in the comment section below. And if you are considering joining the Patreon, I would argue that you should wait now until the 1st of April, right? Because you get charged the first time you sign up to the Patreon and then the start of each month thereafter. So if you signed up now, you'd be getting charged twice in succession. So just give it a couple of days and hang on until the 1st of April, okay? And then you will be more than welcome. And yeah, take care, and I'll see you soon. All the best. Bye-bye.